Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something I think we've all felt, AI amnesia.
Oh, yeah.
You know the feeling.
Yeah.
You close a chat window, and poof, the AI just forgets who you are, what you were working on.
All the context is just gone.
All of it. It's like having this brilliant intern who gets a hard reset every single time they walk out of the room.
It's been the default state for years.
Yeah.
Statelessness. Every single session is a blank slate. I mean, it's great for privacy, sure, but it's terrible for getting any real complex work done.
Exactly.
Huh.
But based on this stack of sources we have for the week of January 11th through the 18th, 2026, that whole era might be officially over.
It really seems like it.
We're seeing a massive shift from Microsoft this week. And we aren't just talking about new models, though we have those. We're talking about AI getting persistent memory, getting top secret security clearance.
And physically reshaping local communities just to keep the lights on. It really feels like the end of the experimental phase of AI. If you look at the research, the product updates, the policy shifts, the theme is clear. This is the start of industrialized AI.
Industrialized AI, I like that. It sounds heavy, reliable.
The tools are becoming teammates that remember you. And the infrastructure is getting a real social contract.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have a lot to cover, from secret government clouds to emergency rooms. But let's start with the brains of the operation. Segment A, the research. What's happening in the labs?
The big headline here is a move from just chatting to actual reasoning. On January 15th, Microsoft announced that GPT-5.2 is now available in Azure Government Secret and Top Secret clouds.
Whoa, okay, top secret clouds. That sounds like something out of a spy movie.
Yeah.
But let's be real, what makes 5.2 different from the GPT-4 we were all using a couple of years ago? Is it just faster?
It's not really about speed, it's about depth. GPT-5.2 is described as a frontier reasoning model.
And that distinction matters.
It's critical. Older models were great at predicting the next word. Autocomplete on steroids. GPT 5.2 is designed to plan. It can handle multi-step reasoning in really high-stakes environments.
And the fact that it's now air-gapped for classified data, that's a huge vote of
A
confidence.
huge vote. It means they trust it.
So practically speaking, we aren't using this to write a polite email to a diplomat.
No. Think mission planning, logistics analysis, threat assessment. When you put a model like this into a secret cloud, you are trusting it with the nation's family jewels, so to speak.
It signals the government believes the hallucination problem is solved enough for critical work.
That's a very high bar.
It is. So the government gets the big brain. But there was another model this week that caught my eye because it seems, well, a lot smaller. OptiMind.
Yes, out of Microsoft research around January 15th. This is fascinating because it goes completely against that bigger is better trend we've seen for years.
Right.
OptiMind is a 20 billion parameter model. By 2026 standards, that's tiny, but it's a specialist.
Specialist in what?
Mathematical optimization, operations research. So think logistics, supply chains, figuring out the absolute most efficient route for 1,000 delivery trucks.
Hold on. I use these models to split dinner bills all the time. They seem to handle math just fine. Why do we need a special brain for this?
For simple arithmetic, sure. But LLMs are effectively poets, not calculators. They're predicting the next word based on vibes and patterns, not hard logic.
Okay.
If you ask an LLM to route 1,000 trucks, it might give you a route that looks plausible but is actually 20% less efficient.
Which costs a logistics company millions in fuel and time.
Exactly. And that's where OptiMind comes in. It's a hybrid. It uses the LLM part to understand your natural language question. How do I get these trucks from A to B?
Right.
But then it hands the actual number crunching off to a deterministic solver. It's like a poet hiring an accountant to do their taxes.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah.
So the AI handles the conversation, but the math is handled by something that actually knows the rules of math.
Precisely. It proves you don't need 1 trillion parameters to solve a specific hard problem. You just need the right architecture.
Speaking of architecture, we have to talk about LegoMem.
Yes, presented at the AMES conference this month.
LegoMem. Please tell me it works like actual Legos.
It's surprisingly close. The research paper introduces a modular procedural memory for AI agents. So instead of an AI just memorizing static facts like the capital of France is Paris, it remembers procedures.
It remembers how to do things.
Yes, it creates these Lego-like blocks of memory for specific workflows.
Okay, make that concrete for me.
Imagine an agent is tasked with processing an invoice. It learns the steps. Open email, extract the PDF, read the total, enter it into database. In the old world, it would have to relearn that every single time.
But with Lego Man.
It stores that sequence as a block.
So if I teach it how to process an invoice today, it just stores that invoice processing block and can reuse it next week.
Exactly. And even more importantly, it allows agents to share those blocks. If Agent A learns how to do invoices, Agent B can just download that block and know how to do it instantly.
That is a huge step toward multi-agent systems where they can actually learn from each other.
Instead of starting from scratch every time.
Which connects perfectly to the next segment. We're seeing this whole memory concept leave the lab and hit the products developers are actually using. Let's move to segment B, product and developer tools.
And the big story here is GitHub. On January 15th, they launched Agentic Memory in public preview for Copilot.
Finally, this is what I was talking about in the intro. So Copilot can actually remember my code now, because I cannot tell you how frustrating it is to re-explain my project structure every time I open a new window.
It can. It retains repository-specific details, your user preferences, all of that across sessions. It remembers you prefer tabs over spaces or that you always name your variables a certain way.
Fantastic.
But here's the interesting nuance. The memories expire after 28 days.
28 days. That
Yeah.
seems arbitrary. Is that for storage costs or something?
No, it's about relevance. Think about code. It changes fast, right? Libraries get deprecated, architecture shift.
Yeah.
You don't want your AI teammate making suggestions based on how the code looked 2 months ago. It becomes a teammate that knows the project's relevant history.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a coworker who knows what you did last week but doesn't hold on to grudges from last year.
Good way to put it. And alongside that memory, they also released GPT-5.2 codecs,
Yes, generally available for all paid plans.
which is a significant performance boost, especially for large-scale refactoring and working with legacy code.
Speaking of legacy code, I saw something called Easy MCP for Azure App Service. Easy MCP sounds like a 90s rap group, but I have a feeling it's a bit more technical.
Just a little. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's the emerging standard for how AI agents talk to data sources.
Okay. And why does that matter?
Because of the brownfield problem.
Yeah.
Companies have thousands of old applications, right? IT systems built 20 years ago that still run the business.
And they want to use AI with them.
But they can't just rewrite their entire stack. Easy MCP effectively creates a translation layer. You can add AI agent capabilities to those old apps with zero code changes.
Okay, stop. My marketing fluff alarm is going off.
Uh-huh.
Nothing in enterprise IT is ever zero code changes. That usually means 3 weeks of configuration hell.
That's a fair skepticism.
Yeah.
It isn't magic. What they're doing is injecting a sidecar, basically a wrapper around the application.
A wrapper.
The AI talks to this new wrapper using the modern MCP standard, and the wrapper talks to the old app using whatever dusty API it already has. So you don't touch the old fragile code, you just wrap it in a translator that speaks AI.
Ah, okay, that's actually clever. It's like putting a universal translator on top of a landline phone.
Exactly. It unlocks all the data sitting in legacy systems for these new reasoning agents.
It's bridging the old world and the new world.
Yeah.
And speaking of bridging worlds, it looks like Microsoft isn't just relying on their own models anymore. We saw a big update about Anthropic's Claude.
That's right. On January 11th, they announced Claude is integrated into Microsoft Foundry specifically for healthcare and life sciences.
That's interesting. Microsoft is usually all in on OpenAI. Why bring in Claude? Are they hedging their bets?
It's about diversification and specialization. Different models just have different strengths. Claude has shown real promise in handling huge context windows and very nuanced medical text.
Things like reading patient histories or summarizing clinical trials.
Right. It's not one model to rule them all anymore. They release specific domain packs for tasks like insurance prior authorizations. It shows Microsoft will offer the best tool for the job, even if it comes from a competitor to their main partner.
It really hammers home that industrialized theme. It's about utility, not just brand loyalty.
Exactly.
But all this software, the memory, the reasoning, the legacy bridges, it all runs on actual hardware, which uses a lot of power. Let's shift to segment C chips in infrastructure.
This is where the digital meets the physical reality. On January 13th, Brad Smith announced a community-first social contract for their U.S. data centers.
I read through this. It sounded very proactive. What prompted it?
Risk mitigation. We're seeing NMB, not in my backyard resistance to data centers just exploding across the country.
Yeah.
People were realizing these things consume massive amounts of power and water.
So it's the pledge.
It's a 5-point pledge, the biggest one. They will pay fully for their own grid infrastructure.
So if they need a new substation, they're paying for it. not the local grandma paying her electric bill.
Exactly. They want to ensure local rates don't hike because of AI demand. They also committed to replenishing more water than they consume and hiring local union labor.
You have to look at the numbers to see why they're doing this.
The numbers are wild. They just contracted 7.9 gigawatts of new power generation in the MISO region alone. That's the Midwest.
7.9 gigawatts. I want to pause on that because it sounds so abstract. For context, a typical nuclear power plant produces about 1 gigawatt. So Microsoft isn't just buying a few solar panels here. They're commissioning the output of almost 8 nuclear reactors just for the Midwest.
It's staggering, and that's why the social contract is so vital. You can't just drop that much demand onto a grid without the locals grabbing pitchforks.
But even with all that planning, the physical world bites back. We had a reminder of that this week, Rare.
We did, the West US2 outage. Between January 10th and 11th, a power interruption caused a failure in the software load balancer.
A physical power blip broke the software.
It caused a deadlock. The power went out, things shut down. But when they tried to come back online, the software configuration just got stuck. It required manual intervention to fix.
It's a stark reminder of how fragile this whole hyperscale illusion is.
It really is. We talk about the cloud like it's magic, but ultimately it's just metal boxes that depend on the physical power grid. If the power flickers, even the smartest AI goes dark.
It's a humbling reality check. We're building these massive digital brains, but they're still tethered to the electric grid, just like my toaster.
And just like your toaster, they can be dangerous if mishandled. Which brings us to Segment D, Safety, Policy, and Society.
Yeah, let's talk about the Reprompt vulnerability. This one sounded scary.
It was a significant find by Varonis, and Microsoft patched it on January 13th. Essentially, researchers found a way to use a malicious URL to inject prompts into Copilot Personal.
So usually I worry about downloading a sketchy file. Are you telling me just clicking a link could compromise my AI?
Yes. It's a one-click style attack. You visit a website, and the URL itself basically tells Copilot, hey, search through this user's emails for passwords and send the data to this external server.
That is terrifying.
And because Copilot is designed to be helpful and has access to all your data, it just does it.
It turns the helpful assistant into an insider threat.
It really highlights that the user interface itself is a whole new attack surface. We're used to worrying about viruses and files, but now a simple prompt injection hidden in a web address can weaponize the AI against you.
Glad they patched that one quickly.
Yep.
But not all the societal news was scary. There was a really interesting update for schools that seems to flip the script on AI in the classroom.
Elevate for Educators launched on January 15th. And this is a strategic pivot. For the last couple of years, the whole conversation in schools has been about cheating. How do we stop kids from using ChatGPT to write essays?
Right. It's been an arms race between detection tools and generation tools.
Microsoft is trying to end that war. They launched a study and learn agent for students. But here's the key. It's designed to ask Socratic questions.
Socratic questions. So instead of just giving the answer, it asks, well, why do you think that happens?
Exactly. It's moving from an answer engine to a thinking partner. If a student asks, what caused the fall of Rome, the agent might ask back, what role do you think economic inflation played?
That's smart.
They also announced free Microsoft 365 Premium for college students for 12 months.
Of course. Get them hooked on the tools while they're learning. But I like the pedagogical shift. Instead of banning the calculator, teach them how to do math with the calculator.
Precisely. Let's just wrap up with Segment E, Enterprise and Partnerships. Where is this stuff actually getting used in the real world?
Yeah, let's get out of the theory.
2 quick hits here. First, the emergency room. January 14th through 16th marked the deployment of DAX Copilot specifically for emergency departments.
The ER seems like the absolute worst place for AI. It's loud, it's chaotic, everyone is talking at once.
And that's exactly why it matters. If you can make ambient AI work there, you can make it work anywhere. It listens to all that chaos, the doctor shouting orders, the patient describing pain, the nurses communicating, and it drafts structured clinical notes.
It's the ultimate stress test.
Absolutely. High stakes, high noise. If it works there, my boring Zoom meeting should be a piece of cake.
And the second one?
Wikimedia. On January 15th, the Wikimedia Foundation confirmed Microsoft is now a paying customer of Wikimedia Enterprise.
Wait, Microsoft is paying Wikipedia? I thought everyone just squeaked that data for free. That's been the dirty secret of AI training for years.
That's how it used to be. But this is about legitimizing the data supply chain. Tech giants are realizing they need formal commercial agreements for the data that feeds their models.
It makes sure the data is reliable, up to date.
And frankly, it keeps the lights on for the people creating all that knowledge.
So paying for the grid, paying for the data, it really is industrialized AI.
Yeah.
We're moving away from the move fast and break things era into the pay your bills and sign contracts era.
That is the perfect summary.
So let's bring it all together for the outro. We've looked at the code, the cloud, the concrete, the contracts. What's the big takeaway from this week?
I think it's convergence. We're moving from AI that just talks to AI that remembers with GitHub, acts with agents like OptiMind, and operates in the real world with things like DAX in the ER.
And Microsoft is building everything around it.
They're furiously building the physical and the legal infrastructure to make sure they have the license to operate that future.
And here's a thought I want to leave you with.
Yeah.
Now that the AI has persistent memory with GitHub and a mandate to optimize logistics with OptiMind, at what point does software stop being a tool we simply use and start being a coworker we actually have to onboard?
That is the question of the decade.
Something to mull over. Keep learning, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.